Welcome to Seer Comic Podcast, episode 26 with Dachul Okamoto.
Hello.
So you're the creator of
Greg, introduce yourself.
Oh yeah, wow. I'm Greg Moquin. I'm the co-founder of Seer Comics, writer, creator of Seer Chronicles, all that stuff.
And I'm Dillon. I'm the CTO, essentially just handling all the tech stuff, built the website, and now currently editor-in-chief. And today we have Dachul. Introduce yourself.
Hi there. Nice to meet everybody. I'm Dachul Okamoto, creator of Shotgun Samurai.
What is your comic about?
What is it about? So basically, it's like a samurai story, but so it kind of have like a manga Western kind of vibe to it, with a lot of elements of comedy. But basically, it's about a samurai who has a legendary shotgun back in the this is back in old Japan, so it's kind of very mysterious as to why he has the shotgun. It's about him getting redemption for his, because he used to be like an assassin for the shogun. Yeah. So it's about him getting redemption and trying to deal with the people who want him dead.
It seems like a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of people want him dead, and he's just trying to, become a good person.
That's cool. One of the pages I liked was actually, it was just like a panel. Was I think he stopped the sword or something with like the bowl of ramen or something like that. Yeah. There was like a bowl of ramen, and he took it from that George character, and then he just he stopped the sword or whatever from like Gink Guild, and then he's just like, my ramen.
Yeah, he's a simple guy. He just if he's hungry and his ramen's gone, he gets mad.
So like, what gets you in the mood to like create your comic, or just comics in general? Like, do you put music on or what?
Yeah, usually I listen to podcasts or music, or like a lot of comic YouTube channels I like to listen to. I kind of just I kind of have myself a routine already, so I don't really have to work too hard to get into like any kind of groove. So it's kind of like I wake up early, just kind of have a few hours to myself before work, and then just do some work and then get the day started.
So do you write in the morning?
Yeah, usually.
That's cool. Yeah, I always try to think about like when people are most creative, because my brother's a music producer, so I always try to like optimize time. Like, I know for me, like I'm more creative not right when I first wake up, but probably like before the afternoon if I wake up early enough, or early afternoon. And then like in the evening is when I do work that I'm like really good at, but I don't need to be creative at, and that's like because I can just focus and I don't have to. So like I do web design at night because I don't need to be conscious to do that.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that makes sense. I never thought about it that way, like dividing it up like creative time and just like kind of tedious technical work.
Yeah. Well, because it's interesting, because like when I first started, web design would probably have to have been in the morning because it was a lot of brain work because I didn't know what I was doing. But now that I've been doing it for so many years, I noticed that I'm efficient later because it's hard to distract me if I'm tired. I'm just gonna like zombie out and do the work that needs to get done.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because I do find myself like when I need to actually think of like the story, and like I find that to be the hardest part. Of course, is like just coming up with the story, what's to happen next, the layout of the panels, and all that stuff. And sometimes I'm just like I put that off, and then I just kind of draw something else and make some other kind of piece of art. So,
no, it's I was sending Greg stuff the other day, or maybe yesterday. Just a couple stuff from you know who Tim Ferris is?
No.
He wrote a book called The 4 Hour Work Week, back in 2009, but basically that's how he became huge, was that he essentially created a business that he worked like 80 hours a week in, so he wasn't enjoying life that much. And basically he was going insane, so he's like, I need to figure out how to, basically eliminate my job at my business so that it runs on its own. And over time he figured out how to break it all apart so that he didn't have to focus on it. And then he wrote a book about it. It became hugely popular, and that's how he became famous. But he has written 5 other best-selling books, and he has like a world famous podcast. And so he talks a lot about creativity because of that, because like even like the technical part of like portioning out your, or what is it, yeah, I guess portioning out your business and having it handled out by other people is still creative work. And he talked about, for writing in particular, there's a couple books he references. One's like, Greg, what was the one I sent you yesterday? The Artist's Way or something like that.
I don't remember what it's called.
Basically, it just talks about like making sure that you write every day in a certain context. I think it started off by like actually having you write in like a newspaper. I don't remember the exact context, but it just had some interesting thoughts about that you should just be writing all the time, even if it's nonsensical, because you're just, it's almost like the more you write, the more you get rid of the bad ideas so you can get to the good ones.
Oh, yeah, I've heard something like that before. That makes sense, yeah. Just
it's like,
yeah.
as I say, it's like you have a flow of knowledge at all times, and there's going to be gunk in there, so you just have to keep going and get past it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. That actually, now that I think about it, yeah, most of my writing is awful, and then I just have to rewrite like over and over again, and I come up with better ideas later, and I'm like, okay, what about this? And then it's like, finally at the end, I'm like, okay, this is the one I'm going to go with. I'm going to stop.
Well, that's like one of the reasons your editors are important. Like that's the thing. Like Greg knows. Like our next 2 comics, or 3 comics, right? How many do we edit? We edited 2. No, we edited 2 comics. Our next 2 comics are going to be like phenomenal compared to our first couple, because we edited them in advance instead of waiting for them to get to the artist and then editing the text to make sure it still made sense. And so because of that, it's like it's a second Passover, but in like greater detail. And yeah, like the first part is important, so you have a base, but it's important to layer on top of that so you get what you're looking for.
That makes sense. Yeah. What was it? Also, I heard what was it? This quote. I think it was from Alan Moore. It was I saw it on one of the commercials for the master class.
Yeah.
It was like the first draft. I forget how it goes exactly, but the first draft is like you're writing it out, and then the second draft is to make it feel like you knew what you were writing since the beginning.
Yeah, I've heard that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that quote. I'm like, wow, that's great.
It was Neil. It was Neil.
Neil Gaiman.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was him. Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember his like accent and everything. Is like, you have to act like you knew what you were doing the entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so I write in like just a notepad or like my notes app or whatever. I'm like just constantly like thinking of like plot ideas, because that's what I'm amazing at. Is like I can come up with a plot, and then Dillon's like, and now I'm gonna break it apart and make it not stupid. So then he's just like, oh yeah, and then he actually like positions like where the character's gonna be. Like we went all out now. Like we have like an actual system in place. Like the first 2, the Seer Chronicles, it's a good comic, and ink is good, but they have 2 different paces. Like ink, there's only like 12 pages, so obviously the pace is like a little faster, but and there's not as much story in that one, but the rest of them are going to be longer. Like a normal comic book is like 20 something pages, 30. But the Seer Chronicles is 25 or 6 pages, and it has a different pace. But I know one person I buy like every comic from, Travis Gibb. He has his comic Broke Down in 4 Dead Bodies. It's an awesome comic. I was like, oh, did you do your Kickstarter stuff in the mail? And he's like, oh yeah, I did. It's just like I still don't get the pacing for your first issue. And I was like, well, first off, my problem was I had the artist do stuff before actually editing that script. Like the script is the artist like took out basically 1 or 2 pages that we technically needed that were in the script. Like he didn't either understand it because he's like from Brazil, so he was like cheaper, like a cheaper artist to use, but like the art wasn't like terrible. It was just like certain things in the comic, like the main character
consistencies. Yeah,
like the main character, like he's supposed to be this buff guy like after he comes back to life, and there's like certain instances like he's getting pushed out of a car and we're trying to be scientifically accurate in a way. So like when the driver that's pushing him out of the car, like if he could easily just like kick him out of the car, that wouldn't
he's supposed to weigh like 300 pounds at this point. Like he's supposed to be super dense, and then all of a sudden there's like a scene where the guy's picking him up like a bride, and we're like, so I just deleted that. I had to delete that. I was like, that's not gonna go there.
So it's like just little things like that. The newest artist is now doing what I'm now going to do for ever if he works out, which I think he will. He does like character sketches. He does like character sketches and like a design sketch of like how tall they'll look like in the comic and everything. And I was like, oh wow,
like a reference sheet.
Yeah. So I give him like what the description is of the character. Like I have a whole description document of like a bunch of characters, and then he like draws out like what he thinks I describe them as, and they're all good so far. And that gives me like an idea of like what the comic is actually going to look like. So I didn't know what the comic was going to look like with the other guy. Like he started just drawing, and then he didn't even have like a complete process. Like he was supposed to like send me pages like when he sketched it out, and then after that he's supposed to ink it, and then the whole process. And he he drew the entire page, and then I it was my fault that I said okay to it. When now we have a system in place, I get the pages, I will send them to Dillon. We already have like some panels like mapped out depending on like how it'll look. I told it to the artist, and he said the one thing I'm really good at is storyboarding, so he's going to follow those, but our panels are more like for what
specific ones. Like basically this time what we did was, instead of just letting the artist have full free reign, because this is like another thing from Tim Ferris. Actually, he talks about how having restrictions actually gives you more freedom, because with those restrictions you have to be creative within those bounds, where if you have full freedom, you actually have almost it's too much. Like now it could be nonsensical as opposed to precise, and you want it to be very well done but precise. And so this time, like we didn't say like, oh, this is where this panel is going to be, this is where this panel is going to be, and we did that through the whole thing. Instead, we were like, okay, like this here is going to be a splash page. This here has to be a big wide panoramic with a couple small panels underneath so we can have text bubbles, right? So like there's a few that we already have, the way the story's written, they have to be laid out that way. And then there's other ones where we're like, you can, be creative with these, because now you have the gist of how we handle things. This one, we don't care as much. So if you figure out where these can go, that'll be great. But we're like, we're explaining like, oh, we're bird's eye view, we're worm's eye view, we're mid shot, we're close up, we're long shot. So we're very specific with all that stuff. And then I think we even do viewpoints. So like where we are in the room, that kind of thing. So yeah, and then I had I had Greg make blueprints for every single one of the rooms that we're in. So we have a 3D map that's built out from the game, and we're using that for like street references. So if anyone's walking in the street, we can be like, okay, here's the section they're in, draw that, right? And then for the rooms, like one's a restaurant, one's like a underground poker place, like just by having it like that, we have these rooms sketched out so that he knows where everything is, even at an angle, because we don't want we don't want it where because the room is so vague, he's only really drawing the character with like a color splash background. We want like a defined background.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I had to do all those blueprints. Then I send those to our game developer, my friend Scott, and I just talked to him yesterday again about like some things to add in and things that I need for the artist, because he has to send me certain pictures. Like he said, like what I do as a blueprint, he has to send me certain like houses and stuff. Like there's this one character that we focus on a lot in the second issue. He's kind of an asshole. He's a cop, but he's a bad cop. So then we have his uncle's house that he's living in, but it's just him mapped out. So where the kitchen is, like the kitchen will still be there. All of that. There's gonna be like beer bottles all over the floor because he's an alcoholic. And we have a scene of these two like mobsters that try to go grab him to just like try to get money out of him, and they're like in the kitchen. So like we actually have like positions of like where these two guys will be and try to like grab that guy, but something happened.
I got you. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, like like in the most recent because I tried to get more because especially in the earlier chapters, everything's just like in the forest because I didn't want to deal with that. It's because I was like, it's easier if everything's trees, and I don't have to worry about who's where. But then later on, like in my most recent chapters, I was like, I want to put them in a town because like that's something interesting, and it's kind of pushing my limits as well. Like actually drawing like an old Japanese town, and then I ended up having to make like a map and everything.
Yeah.
And me and my my other buddy, we kind of come up with a story together. I was drawing the map out, and I was explaining who goes where, and he was like putting input here, and he was like, oh, what about this, and that, and then it became a lot more fun to like design, especially like action and like kind of chase scenes of like kind of just like he goes from this building, that one. And
Yeah, that's literally why we had the map built to begin with. Like it wasn't actually intended to be a game. It was initially just supposed to be a map so that we could be consistent with where we were. So for example, in the first comic, the characters dropped off at a hospital, and we're going to have him walk someplace, and we're like, okay, well, is it around the corner or is it downtown? Like how far is this going to take, because we're going to have other stuff happening in the meantime. And so that was something that we figured like that'll be important for later stories. And that's the whole reason we're like, like we should have everything laid out, because we knew how the city was designed because it's based off of where Greg grew up. And so we have this area, and then we basically took the houses and we're like, all right, now the houses are skyscrapers, right? And so it's a very, like, we already have the grid pattern of the streets and everything. And if Greg is like, oh yeah, where should this happen? Probably on Elm Street or something, because like he knows those streets, and so it's perfect. And so anyway, it'll be like Easter egg stuff for anyone who lives in the area, because some of the stuff is staying. Like there's a restaurant that'll be there. There's like the city hall, things like that we're keeping in the actual comic. So people will see it and go like, that looks familiar. And so like that, that's kind of just a fun thing to see.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, so you guys made the 3D rendering first, and then you guys were like, hey, let's make this into a game.
Yeah. Well, he was like, oh yeah, well I gotta make the 3D map on Unity anyway, and I'm like, oh well, can make a game out of that. So we went with that. One of the new things that I was trying to create it as a podcast yesterday. I was trying to record me and Scott, and it was only picking up my voice. So like, first he talks like super low, and I talk low, as you can see. But he talks lower than me. Like you could barely hear him, even if you like turn the volume up all the way. So that was not the reason why I didn't catch him. It was like I was recording through Anchor on the desktop, which I never do. I usually used to do it on my phone. Now I take the recording of like this podcast and I strip the audio from the video. But so I was gonna do like a 30-minute thing of that and like turn it into a podcast episode, but it didn't work out because all you hear is me going like, wow, oh, that's cool. Oh, that's awesome. Like 30 minutes. So
Nice.
and, yeah.
That should be an ASMR.
What?
I said you should set that up as an ASMR.
Yeah, get a whole different type of fans.
Wow. Cool. Okay. Nice.
Yeah, one of the new things it came up with was I don't know how annoying this would be for like gamers, like people that are playing the game, but every game you don't have to actually go get gas when you're driving a car. So I already had to put like gas stations in the game to replace this one like major kind of like franchise that's around this area called Stewart's. So Stewart's is, oh yeah.
You're from upstate New York.
Yep.
Yeah, I used to live there, so.
Oh, where'd you used to live?
Well, I went to school up near Bard College. You know that? Well, I used to live in Rockland. That's where I grew up.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, it's not that
remember
far away
Bard
from like
College.
where I.
Yeah. Are you guys near Rockland or?
No, we were
the-
from Albany.
Yeah.
Oh, you're way up there. Yeah, I mean, Bard's in Red Hook. I don't know if you know Red Hook. Kingston.
I know. Yeah, I know
Kingston,
of it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's around Kingston. Yeah.
Small
So there's a
world.
lot of Stewarts over there.
Yeah. Yeah. So instead of the Stewarts, it's gonna be I'm going to go on to Facebook or whatever, and then usually someone answers me pretty quickly, and then sometimes, and if I need a likeness for somebody or whatever, but I'm going to whoever is the first person to answer that post, I'll be like, oh, who wants to own like a gas station franchise in like the game, and then whoever answers that, they'll come up with the name and we'll go from there. But yeah, so I was thinking like since there's even in Grand Theft Auto you're getting chased by the cops, like the cars never like there's no gas thing that's involved. So that'd be funny is it if like you're getting chased by a cop or something and like you actually have like there's high speed chases that will be in the game. If you're getting chased by a cop or whatever, or and you're about to run out of gas, there'll be like a little notification that comes up with a gas light, and you got like 20 miles or whatever left, and you actually have to go get gas. So it's just like a little thing to make it kind of realistic, but at the same time, like it's gonna piss people off, but I think it would be really funny.
That would be interesting. You gotta somehow make it into like a mechanic instead of just a hindrance.
yeah. And then there's another thing like if there's a cop character, because there's like you could be a couple different job roles. If there's a person that's playing the game and they're a cop and you're speeding down the road, there'll be a notification that comes up and you press like the interact button. So like on a keyboard it'd be like E or F. You click that, or like you could use a PlayStation controller and you click like circle, and you could turn like your car and then go chase after that person instead of doing like the mission you're about to do. So
I see.
yeah,
So this is gonna be like
what
a big game.
Yeah.
Like-
It's like he said that I guess most games they're broke up in quadrants, like cities are broke up in like quadrants, but smaller quadrants than what we have. He counted it's a 6x6 map so far of that city, and it's not even the full city that we're using yet. So I was like, yeah, we need like this done, and I was like, wow, there's like that whole part of that like Schenectady and stuff that is still has to be used, and that's just one city out of like 6 cities that are mentioned in like the graphic novel. So yeah, and you'll be able to pick where you live because there'll be like apartments and stuff that you'll be able to actually live in.
Oh, geez.
Yeah,
I thought like you were just gonna make a side scroller or something. But
no, it's like 3D.
Yeah,
like
2D scroller.
yeah.
Run, the bad guy's coming. Get the bad guy.
No, there's like missions that are like played out and everything. I'm doing the cop missions first because the video game is the backstory of our main story. So the cop and the firefighter are like the 2 roles. There's a taxi driver job, but that's actually going to be unlockable because people are going to wonder why a taxi driver character has to be unlockable. and there's a reason. It's because it's another perspective of another character. So
The 300-pound guy that gets kicked out.
So yeah, that's the game. It's funny that we're mentioning it because I asked like on our Instagram story. Sometimes I ask those questions, like the question sticker, and I don't know if you ever done that on Instagram. Like if you ask a question and like you just get high or this is fire, be like that has nothing to do with my question. I asked like, oh, like what topics would you like to hear in like the podcast? And one person actually said, oh, like more about your video game. I'm like, oh, we kind of like go over it a little in like other episodes, but I don't really know which episodes because there's now 26 of them. This one, so we actually like kind of went over more than usual. So
It's pretty cool.
yeah. So do you have a whole series planned out for your comic? Like obviously you said there's like so many more chapters that you just have to upload.
Yeah, like, oh god, like right now I'm trying to finish this arc. Like I was planning to finish this arc like maybe 3 books ago, but you know things just keep getting more and longer. So I'm like, I have to finish it now. Because me and my friend, we came up with like I don't know if you see the names. There's my name Dachul, and there's Matthew's.
Yeah.
We were college buddies, but we came up with like I don't know, I think there's like 10 story arcs or something that we have. Yeah. I mean, I'll see how much longer I can do this because it's unless I can speed up production or start making money and pay someone else to do it. But
I pay for the artist, basically everything else. We have a team that we're slowly building up for our comics, like just a colorist that I'm using for everything. I actually told him about that. Like, yeah, I'm gonna use you for like anything that we get done. He's like in Indonesia or something. Then there's a guy from Canada that he's the letterer for like a bunch of comics that I buy that are indie comics. So he's going to be our letterer forever. And then if this artist works out, then we have 2 different artists that are definite, like that will be part of our team, any comics that we do in the future. But our graphic novel started out with me writing over a 1,200 page story. Like it was the story, but it was not broken up into a comic. So I had to break it up first. One of the 7 times I had to edit it, I had to break it into like a comic script in a way. But when I broke it up into a comic script, it was still confusing because it's like there was more happening in one panel than supposed to. And I didn't see that until someone else looked at it, like Dillon. So when we had another artist do like 6 pages that will never be seen ever again, it's gone from the world. I don't know where it went. It was on our website like in the very beginning, but I doubt anyone actually like looked at that. Yeah. So in that one, like the janitor that's in the beginning, he's not super important, but it's important to have the character look the same throughout the comic.
Yeah.
He's only in the beginning, but he looks different from this first panel to the next panel. Like
every single panel he looked different. It looked like a different character.
Like, so I was like, that's weird. So, but I was only excited about getting a comic out. I wasn't like really looking at those like details that are not even that hard to see. It's just like I was so excited to have a comic, and then like Dylan's picking apart my dream. He's like, "Wow, you're a piece of shit. Look at this." And I was like, "Oh."
Well, because like for Greg, like he's not the artist, he's the writer, and so to finally see any form of artwork to his writing is already like that's why even people like fan art. Even though it's not their art, it's still cool that someone drew to their story. So it's like,
oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and so like that's the thing is like even if you're paying for it, it's still really cool to see what you wrote turn into art. And but yeah, so when I saw it though, I was just like, hey, like, where's this supposed to be happening? I'm like when I first looked at his original writing, because what he did was they basically wrote a novel, like an actual script or like a book. And then he took that and he turned it into a storyboard. but he never took the storyboard and turned it into panels, because like in a storyboard, you can have 6 things happen in one panel and it can be described because you know it's going to be action based. But like the panel, you need to break it apart. So like there was one panel he had, well, you know, panel because it was a board written out that was like the guy was sitting down, he got startled and stood up and then got knocked back down. And I'm like, you can't show all that in a panel. Like, that's impossible. Like, unless we're gonna have ghostly figures of him in every position, that's gonna look a little awkward since he talks between all those too. So yeah,
the messiest panel you've ever seen.
Yeah, it was definitely fun because like I never thought I was gonna be doing the editing either. But like now it's fun because I can like really think about because like I've always done like graphic design and web design and you know, I used to draw all the time as a kid, and now I picked up drawing again. So it's like I can now visualize a lot of what he's trying to do, which helps me break it all down.
That makes sense.
Yeah. He goes like in detail. Like he's just like, where is this person going to be? Like we said like earlier about like the shop.
Where did this bottle of wine come from?
Oh yeah, there's a solo series that's coming out hopefully this year, depending on like how the Kickstarter will do. And there's a bottle of wine that I had another writer write this. I gave him the plot and I let him run with it. And he ran off a cliff. No, but it was good, better than the other comic I had him do, because the other one I just changed the like character's origin completely. Like after I had him do it in 2017. And I just changed it because it's based off a character that's like kind of my friend, and he was supposed to die one time. Then I was like, oh no, he won't die. And then like I got pissed off at him or something. So then like I killed him, and then I'm like, he'll live. And then like they're at this like certain point in time, something will happen to him. But yeah, so I rewrote that one. It's like he's a boxer. And he becomes like a superhero of some sort, but not Daredevil, but yeah. So there's other one that is coming out this year, hopefully. It's called Scales, and it's like this kid goes on vacation with his family, his stepdad, his mom, and his stepbrother. That's a piece of shit. They're somewhere. It originally was supposed to be in Greece, but because of the whole world map thing that we're trying to do, like it looks like planet Earth, but it's not planet Earth. Like the continents will look different. I still have to make a world map, but I'll talk about that in a second. And instead of Greece, it's somewhere else. I forgot like where they were going. And the stepdad and his mom are like, you know, doing their own thing, and then him and the stepbrother are later on like doing their own thing. The like main character Eric, he gets trapped in a cave, and then you know things happen, and
like how you totally tangented from the wine bottle. Basically what happens is they go to the beach, and at some point out of nowhere they just have stuff with them, but it's never mentioned before that.
Oh yeah.
One of them just happens to be a wine bottle, and I'm like, wait, what the hell? Where did this come from? Like as we're editing it, like we get along the story and we're like, this is good, and now they have a bottle of wine. And I'm like, where did they get that? They're in the middle of nowhere. There's not like a wine store. So I had to go back like 3 pages and be like, where did we first see them? Shit, I got to add that there's like a picnic basket or something, so that there's something with them that they can pull that from.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Luckily, since mine is kind of a manga style, I can use manga logic and they just pull stuff out of their back.
Yeah, those backpacks, those infinite backpacks.
Yeah, it does like to put a giant hammer or something. It's like, oh well, it's manga. That's what they do.
Yeah. I'm thinking like at some point in the future, like we would do like manga type things. I just don't have an idea for that yet. But yeah.
I actually found out I think I knew part of this, but I didn't know how much of it was. The original Dragon Ball concept, like with Goku, was written based off of the Monkey King and his whole story. Like it's so much of it, and the only reason I know how much of it is because you ever watch those TED Ed cartoons where they talk about like mythology and stuff on YouTube?
No.
I totally recommend it. It's very awesome. They break down stuff like Hercules. What?
A TED Talk kind of thing?
No, these are TED Eds. So they're like cartoon drawings where they'll explain random stuff. So like they do mythology, they'll do science, they'll do a bunch of random stuff. But the mythology series is awesome. Like they go over like Hercules and his or 11 trials or whatever, and they explain all of it. It's very cool. But they explain the Monkey King, and it's like, it's this monkey who was very clever, who ran his like village of monkeys, and he steals a staff from the dragons. Like that's already a nice tie-in. This staff extends to various lengths at his will, like the staff that Goku has, the red staff. He eventually learns magic, such as how to fly on clouds, like Nimbus. Right? I was like, and then what was it? It goes even further too, because like he learns martial arts, he learns all this other stuff, and at one point he dies, and he fights his way out of the underworld back to the real world. I'm like, damn, like that's like basically all the way up to like, this saga. Like that's like a ridiculous amount.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that part. Yeah, because I know a lot about the Monkey King story and the whole Dragon Ball thing.
Well, that was the thing, is like I knew that they were connected, but I didn't know enough about the Monkey King story. And all of a sudden, I'm like, damn, like it's half the story. Like it was actually there's something else the Monkey King did. This wasn't directly related, but it was cool because apparently in this mythology, the underworld has a book with everyone's name in it and when they will die. And basically, he basically goes, my name is not, or my time's not due yet. And then he finds it in the book, and it was, and he's like, oh, oops, and like throws like writes it out and throws it out, and then he finds all of his monkey friends and like removes them from the book as well, and that's how he becomes like basically immortal, because then he fights his way out of the underworld, and once he escapes, his name's not in the book anymore, so they're not supposed to come after him.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I knew he was invincible. I didn't know that's how he got invincible. And also, another thing is the Monkey King's name is Sun Wukong, which the Chinese characters for Wukong, I think it's like, if you read them in Japanese, it's Goku.
Oh.
So it's, or something like that, or like if you pronounce the Chinese word for it, it sounds like Goku in Japanese.
Yeah, I think it's this. If I remember correctly, I think it's the characters that are used can mean Goku. Like, you ever watch what's it called? Damn it, My Hero Academia.
Yeah, I watched some of it. Yeah.
The main character Midoriya, his nickname Deku, it actually can like mean different things based on the symbols. And you don't say Deku when it means the other things, but based on the symbols Deku, it could actually mean something like a hero, which is cool, even though the word Deku actually means wooden doll, which goes way more. I actually learned like a ton of this. It goes way further than that, because in Japanese, to be this Deku, this wooden doll, you're so useless. You're as useless as, because the wooden dolls that a Deku is, like it has no face. I don't think it has arms. Like it's like just like it's not even a good doll. Like it's a useless thing. So when someone would call you a Deku, it was like a very demeaning insult, basically just saying you were useless.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, because in the beginning of the series, like he was saying Deku, and people were saying, "Oh, don't put yourself down like that," or something like that. And I was like, "What's wrong? Why is that an insult?" My wife's Japanese, and she explained everything to me. So I was like, "Oh,
nice."
Yeah,
that's awesome. I've been learning Japanese. I even picked up. Where's it hiding? Did I move it? I moved a bunch of stuff recently. I had no idea where it went. Is that it? No. But I picked up the original Dragon Ball manga. And,
really?
Yeah. Where the hell did it go? Did I move it?
Just rotating your chair a couple more times, maybe it'll appear.
Yeah. I have no idea where it went. Oh, I put it over with my other stuff. That's why. I have like a whole shelf of like learning stuff over here. So I have like books on guitar, books on language, stuff like that. I forgot to put it over there. But yeah.
Oh,
And
nice.
it's cool too because the book side's on that side, and it's like, oh fuck, it's opposite. It's like it freaks me out. Because you open it this way. But it's cool too because like the first, I think it's like the first chapter or whatever it is actually colored as well.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then it like slowly becomes uncolored until it's all black and white, and then the beginning of another one is colored, then it fades back to black and white. Yeah, it's really cool. But I've been learning Japanese for a while now. I'm trying to get to the point where I can read this book.
Yeah. I should learn Japanese.
They have it on Duolingo for free, and it's like I've gotten so far. And they finally added katakana, which was like one of the biggest parts I was missing because, like I knew some katakana, but I hiragana I can read all hiragana. Like I can't translate it all, but I know all the sounds it makes now, all the combination sounds. And then katakana I got like halfway through because I saw them various times, but like they didn't continue with it in the app, and they finally added 3 full sections on katakana. So now I know how to say like a bunch of like what was it? How do you say? Well, actually, a funny one is just New Yorku. That's New York. Yeah, because like all katakana is all the hiragana symbols when used in context of a word that's not Japanese originated. Yeah, and so like that was really cool to like learn all that, and then they also added stuff like routine, so I can actually talk about my day, like as opposed to this app right here, Duolingo.
Yeah, I've seen the memes about that. I never looked into it though.
Oh, I use it all. Well, the day that they added Japanese, I started taking it, which was like a year and a half ago, and they've added so much since then. But yeah, they talk about what is it? They got like so on the very top they got the hiragana, and then just recently they added this katakana. So like I've already beaten all this stuff, and now they just added these katakanas. And then they have like intros, like what is it? Hajime mashite, diron toimasu, right? Like stuff like that. I can talk about food. I like food. Like that's actually how I started laughing because like I started seeing some of the words for the characters in Dragon Ball.
Then you start to see all the puns.
Well, it's actually interesting too because I didn't realize that Gohan means rice or meal. Like it can also reference a meal, and that was the only one I didn't know. I knew the rest of them, but it's interesting because even in the original Dragon Ball Z, Gohan was supposed to become the main character.
Yeah.
And because the fans liked Goku so much and they didn't so much like Gohan at the time, they ended up like diminishing his role and bringing Goku back. And so like it's interesting that he was like the main course essentially. Like it's just a clever play on words that didn't see itself out. But yeah. And like Vegeta, like you gotta have your vegetables even though you don't like them, right? Like
wow.
Yeah, I don't know if that's actually how they meant some of this stuff, but it's like when you really think about like how in depth it goes. Like obviously Piccolo, and he's green. Like they really played on some of these words.
I know. What is it? Yeah, like all the Saiyans are vegetables.
Yep.
I know nail. I think that's a play off of snail. I don't know where that connection is though.
Oh, there's a ton of them. Like there's Majin Buu.
Oh yeah, Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo.
The masters are Bibbidi, and then he had Bobbidi, and then there's Boo. So Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo.
Huh.
Yeah. So like they every name in that was just a punny name, but but anyways, a tangent. But yeah, so like there's like tons of other stuff in here though. They go off. They teach like family, food, activities, positions, transportation. And like that's just the beginning. They just added like pages of new stuff. Yeah, like there's just all of those are lessons with like tons of stuff in there. Yeah. When you get really far on, they'll even let you talk about fantasy. So probably like comic books and movies and stuff like that. Like, but actually like describing like a ghost, like that's not a normal word you would learn. But if you go deep enough, eventually you might use that word.
That's funny, yeah. Actually, yeah, I'm speaking of like the puns with the names and everything. I'm actually trying to. I got a lot of inspiration from that for my comic book when I named my characters. Yeah, Tofu. But she's gonna have a little sister called Natto.
Natto? Is that meat?
No, it's like this fermented soybean.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah, smells like feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, but tastes delicious.
Like I was like, I knew it was food. I just couldn't remember what food.
Yeah, because so her whole family is going to be soybean related names, and like this is this villain that's going to show up later. His name is Cabbagey, which is cabbage, and he's from the Yasai clan, which is vegetables. His mom is Momo, which is a plum.
Wait, but she's in the vegetable clan?
Yeah.
Oh my god! I just realized Momo means plum.
I think so, or peach, or something like that. Momo.
No, the reason why it's funny is what's it called?
No. Sorry, Marimo. Her name is Marimo.
Oh, I was gonna say because Momo, like in My Hero Academia, that's actually one of the characters' name, and I'm like, oh, that's funny.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Oh yeah, and Marimo is like some kind of like green algae plant that a lot of people like to put in fish tanks.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. That makes more sense. I'll say you're like the vegetable family, and then you're like, and she's a plum. I'm like, wait.
Yeah. I forgot what the dad's name is. Shoot. But yeah.
Bok
so. Troy. So yeah. So I'm getting a lot of inspiration from that, and then it's just little Easter eggs that people can.
Yeah. Well, it's fun too because like if you speak Japanese, then it's just kind of humorous. It's like how they're named after vegetables, and if you don't, they just sound like Japanese names. Exactly. And even if you get it, it's just funny, right? Yeah. Like I remember I didn't know like Vegeta, Goku, all those names, Kakarot, right? Like I didn't realize that those names sounded like vegetables until like a little later. Like I didn't like when I first saw it, I'm just like, yeah, kick his ass. Like that's all I'm getting from it. And then you're like, oh, there's like actually a lot of like stupid humor in the background of these things.
Oh yeah, like apparently I don't know, Vegeta has a brother named Tarbell, which is the table part of vegetable.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then there's like Raditz, that's Goku's brother.
Yeah, Radish, yeah. Broly is broccoli, and his father's asparagus.
Wait, who's his?
You know Broly?
Broly.
His father's name is Paragus.
Paragus? I didn't know that.
Did you see the new
I haven't seen the movie yet. I gotta see it. I downloaded it a while ago. I know I'm a terrible human being.
That's probably like the best piece.
I heard about it. My cousin downloaded the apparently like 40-minute longer version. Apparently there's like a really long extended version of it. Yeah, so I gotta watch that.
I gotta see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been busy. I've been like super busy. My brother always asks me like, "Have you seen this show? Have you seen this show?" I'm like, "No, I've been like doing work for like the last 5 years. Like, no, I haven't seen anything." Like even Dragonball Super, I tried to watch all that. I had a VRV account, Verve, and they had Funimation on there. And then of course, like all the other fucking HBOs of the world, Funimation's like, why don't we make our own Netflix? I'm like, fuck. So they took that off of Verve. But I only got up to episode 60. I was watching it in English because I wasn't learning Japanese when I first started watching it. And because I got 60 episodes into it, I wasn't going to start watching it in Japanese. I already have a feel for the characters again, right? And so I was waiting, but they hadn't finished translating it yet. So I was like waiting for them to finish translating into English, and then I gotta probably sign up for Funimation or something and binge watch on a weekend or something just to catch up on Super.
I know. Yeah. I mean, I pretty much spark noted Super. Just watched key episodes here and there, but I mean, I watched like the last chunk completely, but.
Yeah, I want to watch it all just because like that was the stuff I grew up on, and I know that they have a lot of filler episodes like they always do, but it's still something I like to enjoy. Like I don't want to like watch it all and have it be done with, which is what my brother did. He binge watched. He's like, "You haven't finished it yet?" And I'm like, "No, but now you don't have it forever, and I still get to slowly enjoy it. You've already seen it."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I do. It does boggle my mind that people who love like Netflix shows that come out, even Netflix and Disney got smart enough that now they're releasing some shows week by week because you lose all the fun of it, like by binging it. Like, you know, it was exciting. Like every week, like you were like, oh, like what's gonna happen next
That
week?
is true.
And so because of that, for an entire 6 days, you're excited for the 7th day, right?
That's
Like,
good point.
and that's why that's just one small reason why everyone's miserable in the world now. Like it's like the world is more free and better than it could ever possibly be, minus coronavirus. And you know, but like everything is better in the world, and people are still fucking whining about stuff.
You're
it's
right.
like, stop binging on Netflix.
It's
Watch it. Like you and my cousin, actually, yeah, Greg, Josh, he knows my cousin, but the way that we watched, what was it? Sons of Anarchy is like I would go to work, I would come home, I'd eat dinner, we'd watch that show, and like so we'd sit down together, so it wasn't just one person in a room binge watching, which is what happens a lot now because everyone wants to be the first to see it as opposed to actually enjoying it. You know, and then so we'd watch an episode or maybe 2 episodes depending on the night. I'd go off to martial arts, I'd come back, I'd get work done. And like we just did that like ritually, and because of that, it's always like, oh, you know, what's gonna happen tomorrow? Like, you know, I can't wait, right?
Yeah.
And even though the whole show's out and everyone else had already seen it, I waited long enough so that, you know, I didn't know any part of the show. We watched it from the beginning to the end, and it was fucking awesome. And I still think that's like an amazing show, and the people that binge watched it like forgot about it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And also
There-
like it's like all the conversations you can have with people in between the episodes, like, you know, like a water cooler moment, you know, at work.
yep.
You know,
Yeah,
so
as opposed to like, what was your favorite part in the 18, you know, series show? Like,
so basically, yeah, binge watching got rid of the water cooler conversations, made people more distant. That's why there's all the problems in the world. I think you're
coincidentally,
right.
I actually heard that exact phrasing too the other day of like eliminating water cooler talk, right? Like that's the whole thing. Like I'm not religious, but by having like a church, like right, there's a place that you congregate. The water cooler is like that other place. But when you remove like first off, like a lot of people don't go to church anymore, and now you have the water cooler conversations are disrupted because there's nothing to talk about because there's so many shows out there that if you binge watch one of them, you don't have time to watch another one. And so some people are like, oh, I watched all of this show. And they're like, I watched all of this show. Like, I know Game of Thrones, the reason why I never finished that was I watched the whole first series or season, and I didn't watch the last episode yet. And somebody ruined the last episode of the first season, which is the biggest introduction into like what the show's going to be about.
Yeah.
So I started the second season after that. I got 3 in, and I'm like, I'll watch it later. And then I never finished watching it. And it's like it's all because somebody had to like, you know, make sure they watched it the second it came out and then ruin it. And I was like, God damn, like,
Well,
people a minute. Like people do other things in the world.
the ending is so bad.
That's
So,
what I hear.
yeah.
I haven't
But
seen Game of Thrones.
it's a still a good show. The 3rd episode in the last season is good. For those that were complaining that it was too dark, it's the war at night or whatever it's called. So that's why it's dark.
Oh,
There's torches that are still
actually
yeah.
dark.
Yeah. It's like meant to you're fighting like zombie type people.
Demons.
Like obviously yeah, like people are complaining about stupid stuff. Like they're binge like what you were saying, binge watching did like kind of stop that. It makes you forget some things like Orange is the New Black. Like I completely forgot this one whole season. Like I was like after like this one thing happened that was like huge, like all you hear is like a gunshot after it goes to the credits and you're like, what the fuck? And then there's a season after that. Completely forgot that season. But then the last season I remember because I watched it like last year or whatever. And that's way better than the season before. So I was like, I don't remember what happened in that season before. So
Yeah, that is true though. That's another thing too. Is people won't remember them physically as much, like just mentally. Like to think about it, like if you're reading a really hard book, at some point you put it down. And you're like, oh, I need to digest what I was just consuming, right? But if you just keep zoning out and binge watching a show, like you're not going to remember everything about it. Where like, you know, for example, like Sons of Anarchy, I remember almost the entire plot because I watched it slowly over time. I let it absorb. Me and my cousin talked about it, like, God, I hope she dies. Like, you know, like that thing. Like, you know, stuff like that. Like just and because I had like emotional memories throughout that whole thing, like I remember most of it. But like, yeah, when you binge watch shows, like, you know, what was it? Supernatural, like that show's stupid long. But I've seen like every episode up until I think season 12 or 13. I can't remember. I know there's like 14 or 15 now, but I watched it slowly over time. So like I remember, like I can reference most of the seasons, and you know, but where most people who watched it and binge watched it, like my brother, like I'll mention something. He's like, when did that happen? I'm like, season 4, like season 8, like season 10, but like I have these specific memories of when I watched it. Where people who binge watch it, they're just vegging out, and they're not even enjoying it the same amount that I'm enjoying it. And in the end, they won't even remember it. So it was almost a complete waste of time.
Yeah.
It was as if you like, it's as if you like turned off the lights for a couple of days and then you turned it back on and you're like, cool, glad I just wasted 3 days of my life. Like,
Yeah,
and that's it. That's the other thing too, is like every day you should be able to do at least one thing productive. But if you binge watch all day, like you've just wasted a day. Where like if you watch an episode at the end of the day to break down your brain for the day, right? Like to slow things down. Like that's great. Like that's a good thing to do. And then you'll also have something to converse about. That's why it's okay to watch football once a week. But if you like that, but like when you see people that are like that are huge into fantasy football and they know all the stats about everything, and it's like, cool, like did you know pay your taxes this year? Like like Jesus Christ, like you know so much about this and you're not doing something else. Like spend a little time outside the game zone.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Sometimes I just put a show on that I already watched, like binged completely, and like that's in the background while I'm like writing or something.
Like
so like yeah, like The Office, or Parks and Rec, or Daredevil. Like I remember every season of that. There's only 3, but like I remember everything that happens in all 3 seasons. So
I still have to finish those too.
Yeah, Daredevil. Yeah, I only watched the first, I think, 2 seasons of that, and then I kind of.
the 3rd one is so amazing.
Really? Yeah, I gotta catch up on all that.
It's so great. And then you watch Iron Fist, and you're like, wow, Daredevil's like the best thing in the world.
Oh,
because Iron Fist, like the first season, I completely forgot it.
I heard Iron Fist wasn't good.
Yeah, I didn't mind the guy that played the character, but a lot of people did. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever about that.
Yeah, but the second season was better than the first. I thought of that. It was shorter, but
Wait, they made a second season Iron Fist?
Every one of the shows got a second season, but some of them got canceled after that.
Jessica Jones, I only watched the first season. I couldn't really get into the second, but apparently people said that the second and third seasons of that were good, and I was like, oh, well.
Really? I heard the opposite. I heard the first one was good and the last 2
Yeah, that's what I heard too. Yeah,
I heard that some people liked them. Yeah, so it's
like, I really liked the first season of that one, but I heard the second wasn't so great.
I've been loving all of those things, like, you know, what is it, like the Arrowverse, like Flash, Arrow, all that. Then we got the Daredevil stuff. Like it's the same with that. Like I don't binge watch that. That's why I'm still far behind it. Like
I didn't binge watch that. I just watched it when it came out, but like I was just ahead of you because you were doing like, work.
Yeah, I was working at the time when it came out. Yeah, but there's but like what was it? Like Luke Cage, I got through the first season. I think I'm about to finish the second season. But they're like 45-minute long episodes. They're like an hour long almost, right?
Yeah.
And so like, you know, that's like a lot of time to like just like spend watching it. So like I slowly watch it over time, and it's like I said, I feel like it's much more enjoyable that way. And plus it lasts longer. My only issue now is luckily these are like Netflix and Disney, so I think they're going to stay on Netflix a little longer than the other Disney stuff, because like once Disney Plus came out, like all the Disney stuff left. But this stuff still stayed, and I think it's just because like they obviously worked this deal out way before they thought they were going to do Disney Plus. It's either that, or maybe it was like a good introduction to what they could do, which would also be clever. Yeah, no, like all of those shows though, like I love those shows because even when they're like bad, it's just awesome to see like the stuff that I enjoyed as a kid, you know, done cinematically. You know what I mean? Like the fact that it has the ability to have some bulletproof guy and make it look way more real than it could have 20 years ago on
Oh
TV.
yeah.
So it just like that stuff alone is amazing.
Yeah. You said that you were thinking of probably making your game or your comics into like a game or something too.
Oh, me?
Yeah, like you said, you were thinking of like that could be an idea.
Yeah, it's always it's like back of my mind kind of thing. Yeah. No, zero effort put into it right now, but
honestly, you could easily make yours like a simple 2D scroller, and it would still be fun.
That's what I was always thinking about. Yeah, just kind of like some simple, like even like it can even go on like the iPhone or something, just like a.
Ooh, actually, that might be Hector. I might want to talk to Hector about that.
Oh yeah. Because I was thinking like one of the classic like Streets of Rage type games, but
Streets of Rage. Is that like what is that, Double Dragon?
Yeah, like Double Dragon's
Yeah.
Battle Codes, that kind of game.
Right? Is that what it's called? That seems wrong now. It's called Double Dragon?
It is Double Dragon.
Double
I had
Dragon,
it. Yeah. Love that game.
Yeah, I was thinking, or like if what was it, like when that game that's, I don't know if it's out yet, it's on the PS4, Ghosts of Tsushima.
I don't know that one.
Oh no? Oh yeah. It's like it's like a samurai kind of open world looking game. And when I saw that, I'm like, this is what would my ideal game would be like the atmosphere, the mood, except just with a samurai and a shotgun.
Yeah,
well, I was gonna say that's why I coincidentally I was thinking that yours would be a funny 2D scroller. Like it'd be fun to play, and then like I just picture I don't know what game I've seen this in, but I know it's probably on some like one of those old like Newground games where like you'd be doing 2D scroller stuff, like you'd be advancing in some level, and then what was it? The guy, what's the guy's name that owns the ramen shop that follows George. Yeah, I was just like. Because there's that scene where he's like, "Oh, fire! You think you're my friend now, right?" And it's like simple stuff like that. But here's the 2D scroller, and in the foreground would be like them like cut here, like you could see them really close, and like a talk bubble, and then go back to the game, right? And I was just like thinking like that'd be fun little stuff like that, where it'd be like, "No, my ramen."
Yeah. I love that. The thing I really like is just kind of like the contrast between like really serious, like almost kind of like serious like atmosphere and tone and mood, and everything takes the world so seriously, but in such a goofy elements as well. Like George the ramen, the fact that he has a shotgun, but everything is just like super serious. I really like that kind of.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because it is like that, or like all manga, to be honest. Like they have that vibe where it's like Goku, like he's this playful, goofy guy that stupid stuff happens all the time, and then his best friend dies, and you're like, oh my god, like Jesus, like so like there's like some really deep thoughts in there while still being playful.
Like,
yeah.
Like One Piece, like Luffy is so like out
there.
Yeah, he's like out there, and then there's like the other characters like serious, like Zoro and stuff. And he's like, we need to do this like now. Like, stop like goofing around. He's just like, he's the captain, and he's like just doing what the fuck he wants.
Yeah, and of course they always have like the deep, impactful moments where it's like, oh
yeah,
my goodness.
Like when I don't know,
like when
how
Luffy's
far are you?
trying to. But actually, I was gonna say, how far are you? Yeah, before I say anything, because I've seen like all the way up to like episode, what the hell was it, like 800?
Oh no, I'm not anywhere near that. I'm like near like 200, 300 something. But like I think one of the best fights was like when he fought him like 3 times, but like Crocodile, like when he was fighting him, and he's just one of the warlords of like, or whatever they're called. Yeah, and
yeah, they're warlords.
Yeah, and just fighting him like was awesome, like the action and everything like that. But like the first time like he lost, because usually like that does happen like in other shows like that, like they're not going to win the first time, obviously, like it's just like too easy, and they like actually showed like the impact of that.
Episode 800 if they do that.
yeah, so I was like, well, and I already knew there was like way more episodes next, so I was like, oh, I know like he's not going to die here, but like he kind of was like dead for a moment. I was like, oh shit.
No, my friend who's a cartoon.
But yeah, like, even in like comics, writing them, you want to try to like make an impact with try to make people feel for your characters. Like the original version of my graphic novel, I killed almost everybody. And then Dillon's like, you can't kill everybody. And I was like, but it's fun. So
Well, no, real quick. No, let's clarify. It's not that he can't kill everyone. He killed them all at once.
not all
And
of
I
them,
was
but
like,
most
I'm
of
like,
them.
all right. Like, you can slowly do that, but if you
Yeah.
do it like this, no one's gonna care. It's gonna be like,
Yeah.
oh, they're all dead now, right? Like, and then he still had more comic to go. Like there was that was like the first third. I'm like, no. You gotta yeah, I'm like, if you're gonna be killing off all these people, like you gotta do it a little slower. Like even one of the characters now who like in the second issue has like he's got way more story now. Like he was originally going to like basically be a bad person but not like evil, turn evil, and then get killed. And it was gonna be like that quick. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, no, we want to make people feel bad for this guy so that like when he dies, you still feel bad. Like like think about it. Even like when Goku kills Frieza, like he's like the last moment, he's just like on the planet just like dying. He's like, no, you can't leave me like this, right? And you're like, and even as a kid, you're like, fuck that guy, don't help him.
Yeah.
And then he helps him. But yeah.
Yeah, so I obviously extended like that one guy's character that's in issue 2 mostly. I like how there's so many characters that we have that we could easily break it up throughout each issue, and you do point of views for only certain characters in that issue. So like we like have like our main character that's in the first issue, and he's the main character, so obviously it's going to focus on him, but the second issue doesn't focus completely on him. It's like you meet another character that is involved with the guy that picked him up in the first issue, and it's like his daughter, or like adopted daughter, and then you're more focused on that bad guy, like the guy that's slowly turning into like his life is like just shit. And like but then you show like a little humanity like in him, and that's like shown in there. He takes care of his like neighbor that's kind of crazy, but yeah, so it gives them like a heart in a way until you rip it out of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The tragic backstory villain.
Yeah. Yeah,
But it's
like
true. Like that's the reason why like Gotham is such like an interesting show. Like it's because it's giving you like so much depth to the background. Where like some of the characters are kind of evil from the beginning, and some of them just slowly get warped, and you're like, oh shit, it's about to happen. Like he's about to snap. And so yeah, like that part's awesome because like well, it's the same reason people appreciated the most recent Joker is like to see that happen. Like like that's really how that happens too. Like somebody just gets mentally tortured forever until they snap. But in a world of superheroes and supervillains, they become a villain instead of just going off crazy one time and then going to jail. So it's like it's interesting to see that concept, and then like I said, like you said, like you still feel for him. Like it's definitely, it draws you in a lot more to care about the villain just as much as you care about the hero, if not sometimes more. Like that's why, speaking of which, again, Vegeta like is one of the most beloved characters, even though for most of the thing he's mostly a dick. Like it's because you kind of feel for him. Like when Kakarot first dies and he's like, no, you left me, what purpose do I have in life left? You can't just go. Like that's so deep. Like it's crazy.
I know. Yeah. Like like my villain, the first villain that is going to be developed, well, it's and you'll see him in the next few chapters, is heavily inspired. I wrote it when I watched Breaking Bad.
yes.
So, yeah, and that's like one of my favorite like descent into evil stories, because like especially with the whole just the scene where Walter first kills that guy in the basement, like just seeing that kind of how a good man can kill somebody, like his motivations.
Well, almost how to justify it.
Like the justification of why he's killing somebody, and like and that kind of, you see the twisting in his mind of like, and I really feel like that's like a very key moment for turning a good person into a bad person, is like justifying like especially murder.
Yeah, and that's when he knew he fucked up.
Right.
I thought he completely snapped once Skylar had to. Well, she didn't have to. She gave the money to Ted to like help him out, and like all that money that they had like stored under the house. So he's like, "Where's the money?" And he's like freaking out because he's trying to leave, like skip town. And then he just like snaps, and then he just like laughing, and like I watched it so many times. Anytime like I start watching Breaking Bad, I just have to watch it like the entire thing. And there's like
I still haven't even watched all of it yet, so don't spoil too much.
Yeah.
That's another one. Like I got through all of Sons of Anarchy. I know a lot of people didn't even finish that one.
I couldn't even get into that.
What?
I couldn't even get into Sons of Anarchy.
Dude, that's such a great show. Like I started watching Breaking Bad. I got I think it's just the first season I've gotten through, but still like I know how good that show is going to be based on that first season. That's how Sons of Anarchy is. Sons of Anarchy is an amazing show. If you watch it all the way through, it's like there's some fucked up stuff that happens in it. There's some like, stuff where like you're angry at the people in there. Like the whole last season, I'm just like, kill her now. What's going on? Like I'm like, I need to finish this series because I need to know if this happens or not. Like I just needed to know. And so it's like, there's some like twisted stuff that happens. But yeah, so Breaking Bad's another one I want to like. I finally got into it again like a couple weeks ago. I started watching episodes again. But yeah,
the last person that hasn't seen that yet.
No, there's still plenty of people. Yeah. Although Greg, I finally met someone worse than you when it comes to movies. So Greg over here, when I first met him, I was making these references all the time, like to a movie I've seen about 8 million times. I don't know if you've ever seen this movie, but it's called The Princess Bride.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he had never seen it, and I would say 80% of my movie references probably come from that movie, and it's just because I've seen it so much, and it's like one of those cult classics. It's a phenomenal movie, and I end up realizing one day I said something to him and he didn't get it. And I'm like, have you not seen this movie? And he's like, what movie? And I'm like, have you not seen The Princess Bride? He's like, no, I haven't heard of it. I'm like, get the hell out of my house until you go and see that movie. And I kicked him out and he didn't come back until he saw the movie. I was like, how am I supposed to do this with you? You're not going to get any of these references. And then later I find out he never watched the Terminator. Yeah,
I saw the 1 and 2 now.
Finally. And then there was another movie, I don't remember offhand what it was, that he hadn't seen. And then another day we're like talking about plot line for the book or the comic book, and at one point I referenced something and I go, yeah, that's like 1984. He's like, oh, I've never read that one. And I'm like, what? Like, wasn't that almost mandatory in almost every school? Like almost every story that has this evil like entity in the background is based off that book. Like The Matrix is partially based off that. The Big Brother watching, right? Like that's the whole that's a huge concept to not understand.
Well, I can't blame him. I haven't read it either, but
I know trying to,
but I don't.
You at least know what it's about. He kind of only barely knew what it was about. Oh, okay. Like he didn't understand the Big Brother reference.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, and that's like even if you haven't read the book, like I haven't even read the whole book. I just know enough about it, and I've read like most of the chapters because I was a terrible student.
Like the police and stuff, like
yeah, and the whole point is like that's stuff that like he just didn't know, and I'm like, that's super important. Like that's how all of these other plots are basically like thought of. Like it's based, like they don't think, oh, what would 1984 go, but like with that thought in mind of Big Brother always watching, that concept is all from that book. And
it's
most
what you call it, like a reference guy. They just like, oh, just like Big Brother and that, and then you already know
exactly
what you're talking about.
Yeah, and so yeah, it was just funny. So I had him like watch that. I forgot why I tangented to that. Why did I tangent to that?
Because
He's back.
you
Movies,
know
you
person.
watch Breaking Bad.
I was just getting at the fact that yeah, like I've seen all like the main stuff that everyone should see in the life. But then I mentioned Greg. I found one person who's worse than you who hadn't seen like Terminator, The Matrix, what other big shit didn't he see? Like probably Jurassic Park. Like he hadn't seen any like main movie. Like I couldn't think. Like eventually, I'm like, dude, name a movie you've seen. And then eventually, he said he watched Tiger King recently. I'm like, how on this God green earth did you watch a goddamn Tiger King special and you haven't seen the Terminator? Like that doesn't make any sense. If you're stuck in quarantine, catch up on cold classics. Don't watch a retard with a fucking tiger. You know, like I'm like this doesn't make any sense. But yeah, so that was entertaining. It was also funny too because we started making a fight sound sample pack for so like I said, my brother does music production, and we're creating sample packs, and one of them's like fight sounds, like yeah, like just like random sounds like that. And so we were doing those. We tried to get him in there to do them, and like he just like couldn't do them. Like not even. It was hilarious to watch. Like we're just like no, like say it quick. Like one of them was just like don't move, like just like having like that emphasis, like the guttural Japanese sound, and we couldn't get him to do it. And I'm like, I really think it's because he's never watched movies. Because like when I started picking up Japanese, it was like a lot of the references were things I've heard in Japanese before, and then I kind of slowly get it so that I can form the sound, right? But I feel like this kid's never played make believe. I'm like, what? How have you never seen any of these movies? How like do you know what an Arnold impression is? Like how do you get? And it's funny because I think he's he actually just recently won like third place in like this huge jujitsu tournament that Arnold Schwarzenegger was at. So he actually got to like shake his hand. I'm like, motherfucker, you got to shake Arnold's hand and you've never seen the Terminator. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like I have this autobiography on my bedside, and you got to meet him because of jujitsu. I'm like, man, fuck that.
Maybe he saw the movie Twins, but he didn't see Terminator.
No, I asked him another one.
Yeah.
Twins is actually the movie that made Arnold the most money.
Are you serious?
Really? Yeah, because he actually I believe when it was pitched, they didn't think it was going to do well, and so instead of just taking a lump sum of money and being paid like an actor, he got partial rights to the movie, and so he actually made a shit ton of money off that movie. Yeah, I'm pretty certain that's the movie he made the most money off of. I know it wasn't like Terminator or any of his big name movies.
It's not Jingle All the Way.
Yeah, not Jingle All the Way. Put the cookie down.
No.
But yeah, actually, that's funny as shit. I actually have a workout app that has random, like it's like just body weight exercises, and it has random like voice actor stuff. So like, there's like some calm yoga person, and then there's like what the hell is it? Like a kung fu master who like teaches you. And then there's like a drill sergeant, and then there's like something else, and one of them is like action hero, and it's like clearly Arnold. And it's just funny because like it'll say a bunch of random stuff like what was it? Turn that fat into, or turn that like wimp body into a machine or something like that. It's like, you are not you, you are me. And it like does that throughout like the whole thing. And like the other day I'm working out, I almost had to stop because out of nowhere he's like, put the cookie down. I was like, no way. I'm like, how did they get the rights to that in that app? Like, I feel like that's probably not okay, but that was hilarious. I was like, that was so perfect because it's in a workout app. It was perfect. Yeah, I love that stuff. Nice. And now we've tangented so off track. So instead
trying to figure out how to get back.
I was gonna say, so instead of trying to figure out how to get back, it's been like an hour and a half. So that was a good length. So I would say if people are looking for you, was it Dachul, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. If they're looking for you, where can they find you, and where do you want them to find you first?
If you go to shotgunsamurai.net, it should have all my social media links and everything there. I'm trying to get my Twitter more populated these days. It seems to be good networking. So Twitter is what is that? Samurai Comic. If you just search up my author name is Donkey Madness. Yeah. So search up Donkey Madness Shotgun Samurai. You'll find it.
And are you active on Twitter? Like, do you use it a lot?
more active than for me in terms, but I'm really like I don't have much time for social media in general, so I kind of go on it maybe an hour a day.
Oh, so that's still fine. Yeah, that's good. But no, just making sure that if they go to Twitter, they're gonna see you there.
Oh yeah. I at least check. I at least do something at least once a day. I try to update my Instagram once a day.
Nice.
Yeah. I have a YouTube, which I haven't really done much. Oh yeah, there's I have some Shotgun Samurai movies on my YouTube that me and my buddy made in college. That's how it all started, actually.
Nice. You can see the behind the scenes.
Actually, it's on the website too. So
Very cool.
the
Awesome.
website should be able to find everything I do.
Awesome. So hopefully everyone listening, go check them out. ShotgunSamurai.net. Check him out on all his social platforms. Give him a follow. Give him a like. Get his comic. Read his comic at SeerNovaComics.com. You go before Greg keeps tangenting off into more nonsense.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm trying to get Hector.
It was good talking to you guys, putting an actual face to the Seer Nova name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll talk to you some other point, and thanks for coming on.
Sure. Yeah. If you ever want me on, let me know. Killed some time. Why not?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Kill like 3 hours out of your life.
Yep.
Nice. Have a good one.
See ya.
Yeah. All right. Good to see you guys. Bye.